I've never actually been brutally honest about it. It's been quite a lonely place for the last year. I had moments where I just genuinely thought that I didn't belong there, that I didn't deserve my place there. In hindsight, if I could go back, someone just basically got a huge pair of pliers and chopped my loves, and welcome back to my channel. So for those of you whose first time is clicking on one of my videos, my name is Anna and I've just finished my first year at the University of Birmingham studying medicine, and today I'm going to be giving you a completely honest review on my first year, answering all of your questions and spilling some serious tea. So make sure you grab yourselves a drink, hit that subscribe button, give this video a big thumbs up if you do like the sound of it, and let's just get on with the video. What I have done is I headed over to my Instagram to see what kind of questions you all wanted to know, and boy did you have a lot that you wanted to know. What I've done is I've actually split it into 4 different categories. So we have Birmingham University, accommodation living in halls, medicine and academics, and social life and was it worth it. And I will put all the timestamps and everything in the description box so you can skip to exactly the questions that you want to know the answer to. It has been a crazy year and I feel like I have a lot to fill you in on. It's been a long time since we've had a sit down video, so basically I'm just apologising in advance if it is quite a long one. First question was, what drew you to Birmingham over other universities? And to be completely honest, I did absolutely fall in love with the campus. I love the Uni of Birmingham campus. It has so much greenery, it has modern buildings which I love. It's actually pretty small, everything is very compact. It's about 10 minutes from the medical school to the main uni campus to the gym, and it just means it's got a really friendly feel about it. And it is also just completely stunning with the huge clock tower. It is a campus-based university which is a little bit out from the main city. You have to get there by train, but it actually has its own train station, the university train station, which is so handy for getting into town or getting to Selly Oak. And I also just absolutely love Birmingham as a city. I was brought up about 40 minutes away from Birmingham, so I was very used to it. And every time I go to any other city, I just don't love it as much as Birmingham. There is so much going on. I always call it like a mini London without the prices, because there is literally everything you could wish for in Birmingham. They have amazing nightlife, amazing shopping, so much to do. It's loads of different areas to explore. It's never boring, and I just couldn't see myself going to any other university. Nothing else felt right, and I just knew that I wanted to go to Birmingham. The next question is crime and safety an issue in Birmingham? Now, this is a very funny story and one that I actually haven't told you all yet. And in about the 4th week of university, I really wanted to have my bike. I wanted to be able to get to the shops easier, get into central campus, and I brought over my bike, and I did get a normal bike lock to go with it. However, in Birmingham, this is not enough. Someone just basically got a huge pair of pliers and chopped it and took my entire bike, and it just vanished. And this was the first time I realised, Anna, you are now living in a big city, and that is the kind of thing that goes on all of the time in Birmingham, and it is kind of something you just get used to. Now, this isn't to scare you, it is just to make you realise you are living in a big city, and any areas are going to have their rougher areas, and unfortunately they do tend to be the student ones. But this just means you need to have your wits about you in the same way you would any other city. Nottingham, Manchester, London, you do need to just be a little bit streetwise. Don't put yourself in vulnerable positions, don't walk home on your own in the dark or at night. I don't think it is any worse than any other city, in my opinion, but equally I haven't lived in any other city, but they're the kind of things that you just need to be really careful about. The next question is, if you could go back in time, would you still pick the University of Birmingham? Now, this is something that has really been playing on my mind, and I don't know if I can give you a proper honest answer to this question. I do feel like, honestly, a lot of my experience was dampened by the pandemic. I chose Birmingham because the social events are supposed to be amazing. For instance, MedSoc is one of the biggest in the country, and every single MedSoc event has been cancelled. I also love the nightlife, and obviously we've gone through 2 lockdowns, not being able to enjoy it, not being able to go out. And unfortunately, when the restrictions were lifted a little bit, I had my exams and I was swamped in revision, so I didn't probably get to enjoy it then. And then when my exams were over, it's basically the end of term. So it has been such a weird experience, and I don't personally feel like I've actually experienced Birmingham University in its full glory. So basically you need to stick around till next year and the second year review, where hopefully I've had a full year of being able to properly enjoy Birmingham. But the bits I have enjoyed, I've absolutely loved. I think the facilities at Birmingham University are incredible. The gym is incredible, the library is incredible. I literally have loved the campus, and I think the accommodation choices as well are all so good. And I still absolutely love the city. It just isn't quite the same in the middle of a pandemic. No, I would not pick any other university, but I think sometimes my brain gets a bit foggy because the whole of university hasn't been quite the experience that I was hoping for. The next category is all about accommodation and living in halls. First question was, how did you find living in halls and what was the worst part? Now, I definitely had a massive love-hate relationship with living in halls. It was definitely an experience, and I got to meet so many people, and I'm so glad that I did do it. However, saying that, it is very, very noisy. There is always some sort of chaos going on in halls. There is always noise. That was the bit that I definitely found the hardest. It's just dealing with the constant background noise. There's probably always some sort of party going on, some sort of music, some sort of shouting, and you kind of just have to learn to tune it out, get some good earplugs and try to get to sleep anyway. Doesn't help that I'm a ridiculously light sleeper. I'm glad they're over, but equally, I'm so glad that I did them. Now this kind of links in with the next question, which was, did you get on with your flat? And I absolutely love Daisy. She is one of the girls that I'm living with in my house next year, and I just feel so blessed to have been put in a flat with her. In my flat there was 5 of us in total, and I think the thing I found hardest about flats is these are 4 other completely random people, and the likelihood is you're probably not going to get on with all of them as if they were your best friend. At Birmingham anyway, they are all studying completely different courses. They've come from all around the country. The only thing that I can remember they did at Birmingham is whether you wanted a mixed flat or a shared flat, and I really actually wouldn't be fussy about that. Going into it, I only wanted to be in a mixed flat. Personally, I actually don't think it matters. I think there's so many different personalities that are going to be put in that flat. And as long as you go in with the headspace that you don't have to all be best friends. Some people get so lucky with the people they're put in their flat and they are all best friends, and that's great. And sometimes it doesn't work out like that, but it just means that there's more opportunities for you to meet other people elsewhere. I mean, there were no major arguments, and that's the good thing, but we weren't all best friends either. The next question is, do you wish you picked a more sociable accommodation? And for those of you who don't know, I was in the Metalworks, which is in Selly Oak. Now, at the University of Birmingham, they have the Vale, which is where thousands of first year students are. Most people are up at the Vale, and there are so many different accommodation choices up there. But then the other main place is Selly Oak, which doesn't have nearly as many students, but it has 4 different accommodation choices, and I was in one of them. And they do come with a reputation for being less sociable. In hindsight, if I could go back, it was always such a hard one for me, and I'm really still not sure. No, I probably do wish I was up at the Vale for this year, but because of the pandemic, I chose Selly Oak because the location is amazing. It's right by the gym, the main university, the train station, the shops, and I thought that that would personally suit me better. However, obviously because of the pandemic, I've not actually been able to enjoy the location because for most of the time, lots of things have been shut. It really probably wouldn't have made that much difference, and for that reason, just because it's been so hard to socialise anyway this year, I think being at the Vale for this year would have been easier than being in Selly Oak. It doesn't mean that I don't love those accommodations, and I still think had been a normal year that I definitely made the right decision being in Selly Oak. There are definitely pros of being out of the Vale. You can just focus on yourself a little bit more. The Vale is a little bit chaotic up there, but then that is a really friendly vibe in comparison to Selly Oak. No, in a normal year, I think I would have loved it and wouldn't have changed my mind. For this year, in hindsight, I think I would have preferred to be at the Vale. When did you sort second year houses? I've heard it's very rushed. We actually started looking for our house in November, and we sorted it in November as well, just before the January holidays. Now, this is probably going to panic you a little bit because you literally start uni in September, and by November you've got to decide who you're living with. Some people do wait till January, but the really nice and cheaper houses do tend to go quite quickly. I would say don't rush it. If you really don't know who you want to live with, and don't commit to living with people that you don't like. I got very lucky with the girls I met to live with next year. We all got along really well, and we kind of just knew that we would all get along living in a house, and we found a lovely house, so we just went ahead with it. A lot of universities have January exams, and obviously for us we went into a lockdown, so it would have been a nightmare if we hadn't have sorted it before Christmas. But at the end of the day, you do need to have a level of security about who you're living with. Don't rush into living with people because you might completely regret it later on. I would say if you have a rough idea and you feel happy enough to commit to getting a house before Christmas, then definitely try to do that. However, if you don't have a group that you're sure about, don't rush into it. People do get houses in January and February, and you'll still end up somewhere really lovely. The next thing is the best and worst thing about studying medicine at the University of Birmingham. And the best thing is definitely the fact, I love that we are a big medical school. There's about 400 students in my year, which is very big for a medical school, but it means there's a real community feel. There's so many medics to get to know, and I just love being part of a big medical school. I also really enjoy the fact that our preclinical years and clinical years very separate, which I think really helps you be able to find your feet. Some people prefer a much more integrated approach, which means you get a lot of clinical along with your lectures, and Birmingham I think is supposed to be a kind of integrated course. I personally don't think it is. I think it's a very traditional course. You have 2 years of basically lectures and theory, and then you end up doing clinical and placement in your 3rd year. We do have a little bit of PBL, which is problem-based learning, and I think that is where the integrated part comes in. But on the whole, it is a much more traditional course, and for me personally, that really suits my learning style, being able to find my feet and learn the theory first before we're kind of thrown into clinical, which honestly, I'm so excited about, because one of the biggest negatives is you can start to forget you're actually doing a medical degree. But the positives are you get a lot of learning out of the way, and also it means that you can just kind of focus on one thing at a time. And the worst part is definitely for me how anatomy is taught. We have a pro section and not dissection, but also Birmingham just comes with a reputation not being very good at teaching anatomy. We do it in systems, and I don't know if that is what is going wrong. I don't know, I just really don't enjoy how they teach anatomy. But with the help of Tamara's notes and lots of other tips, which I will put up here, I have managed to get through it, and I actually do now really enjoy anatomy. I find it very therapeutic to learn. It's just taken a lot of trial and error to get used to how I learn best, and I just don't get on with how the medical school teaches it. But it's not going to suit everyone's style of learning. You might come to Birmingham and absolutely love that, but personally, the way they teach anatomy just really doesn't work with me. So quite a few of you did ask whether or not I suffered with imposter syndrome at all, and for anyone who doesn't know what it is, I've just googled the definition, and it is an internal experience of believing that you are not as competent as others perceive you to be. And the honest answer is yes, I've actually really struggled with this, a lot more than I thought. And I think the problem is you go into medical school having done really well at school, probably doing really well in a lot of exams and being towards the top of your class, and then suddenly you're with hundreds of people who are all the top of their class, getting top grades. And there are moments where you can feel so stupid surrounded by such clever people. And I had moments where I just genuinely thought that I didn't belong there, that I didn't deserve my place there. And when you're going through it, it's such a horrible feeling to like not back yourself enough. And I think that's my biggest lesson from this year. Now I've done really well in a couple of my medical school exams, I'm going to start believing in myself a lot more. It's just the little confidence boost that I needed. But it's something that I do really struggle with, and I'm trying to build on, is just believing in myself and not constantly criticising my character or my abilities, especially when I'm at my lower points. I think it's a trait that I revert to, is just not thinking that I'm intelligent enough or good enough to be there, when on paper I really am. I'm sure it's something I'm going to have to deal with again, but we'll work through it and work through it together as well. And the final section are the more juicy ones on my social life and whether or not this year has been worth it. So the first question is it easy to make friends when you first start? And I think university is a very strange place. I think you get a huge opportunity to meet so many people, and obviously I've not even met a handful of the amount of people I would have met if there weren't all of these restrictions in place, tables of 6, not being allowed in other people's flats. Honestly, Anybody who did first year will know it's not been the most easy year for social life. Speaking to my friends in older years who have been to university before, I think a lot of people find this anyway. I think you end up meeting a lot of people and getting along with a lot of people, but I think sometimes it can be a lot harder than people let on to find actual friends, which isn't to scare you, it's just to make you realise that not everyone you meet needs to be your best friends. You can have friends to go out with and you really will make some amazing friends. I just think, for me personally anyway, getting a proper friendship takes time, but that doesn't mean that you're not going to have the best time in Freshers Week with lots of people that you're going to meet. You're going to make great friends, but if they don't remain your best friends for the whole of first year, there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's so normal. Some people will and they remain best friends for the whole of their university experience, but a lot of people don't, and that's absolutely fine. I don't think it is hard at all to make friends, but equally I think it will take time to find your best friends and people that you get on with and are your kind of people. Did you have time to join societies, and did the pandemic affect this? And they're kind of two parts, and the first part is, do you have time? And yes, you definitely do have time, especially if you're doing medicine and you join the MedSoc events. They are literally scheduled around your timetable. It means that they're at good hours in the day. They also don't train all the time, because some of the main uni sports especially, they do train a lot. Now that doesn't mean that you can't do them, it just makes it a little bit trickier and a bit more of a commitment. And because I'm balancing YouTube and medicine and I want to do societies as well, I think I would have struggled with some of the trainings of the main uni sports. However, I still do polo, which I've absolutely loved, and I also joined MedSoc hockey as well. These have been on and off because of the pandemic and restrictions, which has just been so annoying, and hopefully I'll get a whole year of doing them properly next year. So the pandemic has really affected them. It didn't mean that I didn't get to join them or get to go and experience them. I think it just meant that I didn't get to get as involved as I would have liked. But you do definitely have time, and equally they're so important. Everyone needs a social side. You kind of do just have to make the time. There's always going to be something else you could be doing. Just prioritising societies at that point is really, really important. I really love the next one, and that is, what is one thing you would go back and tell yourself at the start of the year? And it's so obvious to me what I would say. I would just say, please just make the most of every opportunity. Try to say yes to as many things as possible, especially because of the lockdowns. I had no idea how much little time I would go, and also how fast 1 year has gone. I mean, I've done 1/5 of my medical degree, which sounds insane to me. I feel like I literally just started. I can't believe first year is already over. So it would just be, say yes to as many opportunities as you can and just make the most out of everything and enjoy the things that you can do. The next one is, what are my biggest tips for freshers? And I have two really important ones. My first one is, make sure you get into a good routine. When you get to university, there is so much freedom. I mean, if you think the jump up from GCSE to sixth form is freedom, sixth form to university is completely different. You're suddenly going to have absolutely no structure, no one keeping you accountable, and that can be a little bit overwhelming and you can get a little bit lost in it. But Monday to Friday, try and stick to a routine. And this is going to be very different for everyone, but getting into a pattern and having some sort of routine is really important for your mental health, your grades, literally for so many parts of your life. Or at least get a to-do list, just get some structure sorted. And then my second one is, join as many societies as possible, especially to start with. Just join loads and you're going to get a flavour of what you enjoy, what you like. You're going to meet so many people that way. I think societies really are so important. Even if you're not sporty, there is literally a society for everything, and just join them. They're such a great opportunity to meet people, new experiences, and at the end of the day, especially at the start when they're just doing tasters, you literally have nothing to lose. Those are all the questions that I'm going to answer today. Just as a little summary, if you straight up asked me, have I enjoyed my first year? I've never actually been brutally honest about it, and yes, there have been parts I've really enjoyed, but if hand on heart I'm being completely honest, I've found this year so hard. There have been times where I felt ridiculously lonely at university. Everything has been shut. I will always remember one of the times in the middle of the pandemic. I was in my room. I felt really on my own. I felt like I didn't know anybody well enough to go to about it. I didn't want to feel like I was letting anybody at home down. And the biggest thing I would say in whatever position you're in next year at university is, make sure you're just really honest with everyone around you about how you are feeling, whether that's people you've just met in Freshers Week, whether that's your flatmate, whether it's your mum, your best friend from home. Being honest about how you're feeling is really important, and getting it out is the most important thing. I struggled to be open about it because I felt like I'd worked so hard to get there. I really was sure I wanted to go to medical school and I wanted everything to feel perfect. And yes, the pandemic didn't help that, but I think full stop, a lot about university isn't perfect, and you build it up so much to something that sometimes it isn't. And yeah, on the whole, I'm still really glad I've gone. I've absolutely loved my course. I found the social side of uni really, really challenging. I think there have been a lot of restrictions which have stopped a lot of events, and it's been quite a lonely place for the last year. I'm just really excited to have a summer and then go back into second year with hopefully a bit more of normality and a few more different events. I don't want you all thinking that I've absolutely hated it, because that is not true at all. It's just been harder than I was expecting, but I'm trying to focus on the positives and the amazing people that I have met, and there have been some really, really fun times there that I'm so thankful for. Uni is just such a huge life event that everyone experiences it in a completely different way, and it's just been a year of learning. I really do think I've grown a lot as a person because of it, and I'm so excited to see what the next year has in store. Anyway, that is enough of my rambling. I really hope you did enjoy today's video. I'm sorry if it was very long. If you have any more questions at all, stick them in the comments below and I'll get back to you all. Give this video a big thumbs up if you did find it helpful, and I will see you all next week with my next video. Have an amazing week, everyone. Bye.